say you're a wrestler, you've done fairly well, but over time you're obviously jumping levels and getting better.
Mhm.
Does it take? I mean, as you're getting better, does it eliminate down some of the past performance, so to
It
speak?
does, because you're gaining those points. As long as you're wrestling better competition and you keep beating that better competition, you keep gaining points on that. And what I say is, we talk in wrestling about the unicorn, right? The unicorn is the guy who just started and all of a sudden, or what we call flipping the switch, right? Just like, oh, he flipped the switch and now he's just good. Well, there's no while that is something that happens, it's not really just instantaneous, right? The guy didn't flip a switch, won a match, and then all of a sudden the coach was like, oh, he's good now. It's because he saw a body of work. He saw him gain over time. Like, oh, he won 5, 6, 10 matches where he would have lost those in the past. So now we can see these jump levels. So we always talk about it like it's a unicorn of hey, just all of a sudden this guy's really good, but it wasn't really good he got better over time. And now he's just at a point where you recognize it. And so with that, the system allows for that. So as he's getting better and winning those matches, he's gaining points to show that he's better.
Yeah. What about so, and I know this has probably been asked before too. So weighted a tournament, say a bigger tournament versus a smaller tournament, it doesn't matter really.
No, it doesn't matter. So I mean, you're low, and we get these questions a couple of different ways. So I'll explain a couple of different ways. One, it doesn't matter what competition it is. We all think Fargo is prestigious, and it is. We all think Super 32 is prestigious, and it is. And we think of those things, but we all know that in these big tournaments, there's also some brackets that are not as strong as others. And so what it looks at is not really the name of the tournament, but it looks at the quality of the competition that you wrestled. So if you're in a local tournament in Oklahoma and you're wrestling guys that have a good rating, that are good quality wrestlers, you're going to gain just as much points as if you went outside the state to go wrestle guys of the same caliber. So you can stay in state and do that as well. So we've had it from a standpoint of what are the tournaments. We've also had the question proposed as, does this reward the trophy chasers, right? The guys who go to the big tournaments because they want the trophies, they want whatever. And what we say to that is, if you're in a state that has tough wrestlers, go wrestle those tough guys,
Mhm.
and you got just as much quality and just as much ability to gain points as if you went outside the state to go seek that and trophy chase. So
This is huge for Oklahoma because I mean, Zach could talk about this probably later, but quad All Americans. I mean, we had quad All. I mean, we've got our depth in Oklahoma is stacked. There's no doubt. So it would make sense just to wrestle uh, your local guys or in Oklahoma, and but this is what sets up the rewarding of say Southern Plains, Fargo, World Trials, things like that. If you don't, from what I understand, if you don't wrestle USA tournaments, what a detriment. I mean, that's going to have a
yeah,
major
so
impact on your.
so the whole thing is based around going out and wrestling in your local state level competitions, right? So if you're wrestling in your state level competitions, you're gaining points that will reward you down the road when you go to USA wrestling regionals and national events. And so without wrestling in those local tournaments, if you're only wrestling in the big tournaments, your chances of gaining points are probably a little smaller unless you're the stud that's just winning all those tournaments, right? So if you're the guy who's trying to get better, you got to be in your local tournaments to gain those points so that you are separated from some of those better guys when you get to your regional and national tournaments.
Hey Zach, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, at first I remember when they were presenting this maybe a year ago, Dave, and I was a little bit skeptical. I think like a lot of people are at first, and then seeing it in action this summer, because we utilized it this summer for some of our events, and looking at in the numbers that you're reporting and accuracy about how accurate this is, really kind of turned me around on the importance of this. Just as a vehicle to help simplify separation for kids and making it the fairest bracket, that you can make it. And so I was wondering, I've heard a lot of these numbers. I'm wondering if you could talk to us a little bit about the accuracy we've already seen in this index and how it played out this year.
Yeah, so I'll take Fargo as a big example, right? So with Fargo, we did not use it the past year to separate wrestlers in Fargo, and the reason why was because we simply had to vote on it in Fargo. That was a state tournament. This that's a state sponsored, or our state associations run that tournament, so they're the ones that get to say how things go. So we had to have our committee meetings and had to get it passed through all the committee meetings in order to be able to use it at that level of competition. And it did pass, so we will be using it moving forward. At Fargo, though, even though it was not used, take the women's division, for instance, from the juniors or and the 16 U's. both divisions, there was no one that was there were two that were outside of the top 4 rated wrestlers that were in the finals of Fargo for 16U and junior women. And out of those two, one was a 6 and one was an 8. And so when you look at those two, nobody outside the top 4 won Fargo in those divisions in our rankings of it. Okay. So that was the first thing. And excuse me, one of the ones was a junior girl who was actually unrated that made the finals. But she had first time ever having a card, first time ever wrestling with USA was April of that year. So she hadn't wrestled nothing until she got to Fargo with us. So that was kind of the thing there. As for the guys side of things, it was 68% is what it did for the top 8 wrestlers. So if you looked at the top 8 rated wrestlers going into the tournament, and then you looked at the end of the tournament, out of those 8, 68% of those, which is about 7 wrestlers in each weight class, are the ones that actually placed in the top 8 in that tournament. So its accuracy is there. It's not, what I would say is the more data you get in, the better it gets and the more accurate it gets. And so with that, states like Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, a couple of others that we're missing some of that result data from, we're trying to make sure we get that in there so you guys are accounted for accurately and moving forward.
Yeah, those numbers at Fargo, when you guys presented those to us as a chair group, just blew me away. I mean, everybody that's been to Fargo knows how tough of a tournament that is and how unpredictable it is, right?
Yeah.
And the fact that this system that you guys created was able to statistically match that so well, that just put me back in my seat. So it's an exciting thing, I think. You know, one thing that I would say to everybody that's watching is that, you know, from the data you guys have presented in the creation of this, the vote from the chairman's standpoint, all the state leaders, was unanimous. I mean, we all are very behind USA Wrestling, this movement. And I've just been really amazed and impressed, Dave, with all that you and all that USA Wrestling is doing to improve the membership system. And it's just been really amazing how much time and infrastructure you guys are adding to that. So I'm really excited about that for wrestling and for wrestlers. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that with us, because it's just been an impressive thing you guys have done the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, what we've done, especially working close with Tony Black in the office, who's our membership director, when you look at that, we're looking at how can we keep people within our ecosystem? How can we have them one place where they can go, they can get their membership, they can see what events are out there. Now they can register for events on our site if the events are doing that. We can have all kinds of different data points that we're collecting, and it's all for the betterment of wrestling. That's the good thing. And so with the membership system, we're constantly trying to make it and improve it and get it better so that we can get more utilization out of it. Right now, it's kind of the heart and soul of USA Wrestling from a membership standpoint. Our states utilize it to send out emails. They utilize it for their membership. Our event staff utilizes it for the same reasons. So it's a very very large and up and coming system that just keeps changing over time, and it just keeps we just keep adding to it as we have more requests and more things that are needed. So it's just going to continue to grow. I mean, registration this year is up inside the system, and more people are using it. The biggest thing that helps do is it takes out the confusion and closes the loop on compliance, right? So with all the rules that are around wrestling right now, especially at an NGB level with Safe Sport and having to have your background check and having to have your membership and where do I have to have that? How do I do all that? The system takes care of all that for you. So it's just one of those things where you just go in and you buy it and it tells you if you don't have it, and tells you how to get it and lets you do those things. So that's always the goal, is trying to make it as simple and easy as possible while keeping everybody in our system.
Yeah, the safety mechanisms in place from an administrative standpoint, from the membership system in USA Wrestling are so helpful, so we can continue to develop wrestling in a healthy way and protect our athletes and our families and just build wrestling. And again, I always say this when I'm interacting with USA Wrestling folks that work at the office. I just appreciate you guys and all the hard work. I know you guys are at it 24/7 and all over the place working. So just thank you so much for everything you guys do for us. At a grassroots level. We love it. We really appreciate you guys.
Awesome.
Well, David and Zach, appreciate it again. David is the Director of Application Development at USA Wrestling. Zach's our chairman here at OK USA. I'm going to put a link to it. Like this is streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm going to put a link in to the about the pin rating system from USA Wrestling in the comments here, so you can read a little bit more about it. We'll probably be sending an email out as well. But again, appreciate David you coming on, and Zach as
Thanks,
well.
Dave. Yeah, thank you so much.
We'll be doing more of these live streams coming up soon as well. So I appreciate everybody.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.